The Ithorian Emperor's fist slammed down on the arm of his throne, the sound echoing through the grand chamber. His eyes blazed with fury as he glared at the holographic display. Earth, a backwater planet, dared to defy the might of the Ithorian Empire with its primitive radio transmissions. Quasar's lip curled in a sneer. He would teach these upstarts the price of defiance. "Admiral Zaxxon," Quasar barked, his voice dripping with barely contained rage. "Assemble our most advanced fleet. We will crush these humans and claim their world as our own." Little did Quasar know, humanity had a secret weapon hidden deep within the asteroid belt. The Vanguard, a dreadnought of unparalleled power, lay in wait, ready to unleash its fury upon any who dared threaten Earth. Commanded by the legendary Captain Keith Kennedy, the Vanguard was a technological marvel that far surpassed anything in the Ithorian arsenal. As the Ithorian scouts approached Earth, their scanners picked up the bustling cities and advanced infrastructure that belied the primitive radio signals. Quasar's eyes widened in shock as he reviewed the reports. Earth was no mere backwater. It was a prize waiting to be claimed. With a strategic foothold in this sector of the galaxy, the Ithorian Empire's dominance would be unquestioned. On Earth, the Global Defense Council convened in a secret bunker deep beneath the surface. Captain Kennedy stood before the assembled world leaders, his voice urgent. "The Vanguard is our only hope against the Ithorians. We must deploy it now before it's too late." But the council hesitated, torn between revealing their ace in the hole and risking it falling into enemy hands. As they debated, Quasar's armada entered the solar system, its weapons primed for conquest. The fate of humanity hung in the balance as the clock ticked down to the inevitable confrontation. Captain Kennedy's voice boomed through the Vanguard's intercom. "All hands, prepare for launch. The Ithorians are at our doorstep, and we're the only thing standing between them and Earth's destruction." As the Dreadnought's powerful engines roared to life, the Global Defense Council transmitted a final, defiant message to Emperor Quasar. "Earth will never submit to Ithorian rule. We will fight to the last breath to defend our home." Quasar's response was swift and merciless. "Then you have sealed your fate, humans. Prepare to be crushed beneath the might of the Ithorian Empire." Lieutenant Nadia Ivanova and her team, deep within the bowels of an Ithorian ship, worked furiously to breach the enemy's systems. Sweat beaded on Nadia's brow as her fingers flew across the holographic interface, her mind racing to unravel the complex alien encryption. With a triumphant cry, she broke through the final firewall. "I'm in! Downloading their battle plans and transmitting them to the Vanguard now." On the bridge of the human Dreadnought, Captain Kennedy and Commander Morales pored over the incoming data. The Ithorian fleet's weaknesses began to reveal themselves, and a plan took shape in Kennedy's mind. "Commander, focus our attacks on these critical junctures," he ordered, pointing to the holographic display. "If we can cripple their command structure, we might just have a chance." As the Vanguard surged forward to meet the Ithorian armada, its advanced shields flared to life, absorbing the initial salvo of plasma fire. The human ship retaliated with a barrage of graviton torpedoes, the projectiles ripping through the enemy's defenses like paper. The battle raged around them, the void of space alight with the flashes of weapons fire and the blooming fireballs of destroyed ships. The Vanguard danced through the chaos, its superior maneuverability allowing it to evade the brunt of the Ithorian assault. But even with its technological edge, the human Dreadnought was severely outnumbered. Alarms blared as enemy fire breached the weakening shields, scorching the Vanguard's hull. Crew members raced to contain the damage, fighting fires and sealing breaches as the ship shuddered around them. On the bridge, Captain Kennedy gritted his teeth as another explosion rocked the Vanguard. "Status report!" "Shields at 30% and falling," Commander Morales replied, his voice strained. "We can't take much more of this, sir." Kennedy's eyes blazed with willpower. "We have to hold the line. Earth is counting on us." As if on cue, Nadia's voice crackled over the comm. "Captain, I found a critical weakness in their command structure. If we can take out the flagship, it should throw their fleet into disarray." A grim smile tugged at Kennedy's lips. "Then that's our play. Helm, lay in a course for the Ithorian flagship. Divert all non-essential power to weapons and engines. The Vanguard surged forward, its battered hull gleaming in the light of the star-strewn battlefield. The Ithorian ships swarmed to intercept, their weapons blazing, but the human Dreadnought refused to yield. Plasma cannons flared, graviton torpedoes screamed through the void, and the very fabric of space seemed to tremble as the two titans clashed. The Vanguard, a wounded beast fighting with the desperate strength of a cornered animal, plunged headlong into the heart of the Ithorian fleet. On the flagship's bridge, Emperor Quasar watched the battle unfold with growing unease. The humans were proving far more resilient than he had anticipated, and the Vanguard's relentless advance sent a chill down his spine. As the human Dreadnought bore down on his ship, weapons primed and ready, Quasar realized that he had gravely underestimated his enemy. The fate of the Ithorian Empire, and the galaxy itself, would be decided in the next few moments. The Vanguard closed in, its guns blazing, and the flagship's shields flared and crackled under the onslaught. Captain Kennedy, his face lined with unshakable focus, gave the order to fire every weapon at their disposal. And then the unthinkable happened. The Vanguard's hull groaned under the strain as Captain Kennedy's order reverberated through the ship. All weapons, concentrate fire on the Ithorian flagship. The Dreadnought's advanced targeting systems locked onto the enemy vessel, its sophisticated algorithms identifying critical weak points. In an instant, the void of space lit up with a dazzling array of destructive power. Graviton torpedoes streaked towards their target, leaving shimmering trails in their wake. Plasma cannons unleashed searing bolts of energy, each impact sending shockwaves rippling across the flagship's shields. Emperor Quasar stumbled as his ship shuddered violently. Alarms blared, and holographic displays flickered with damage reports. "Impossible," he snarled, watching as the Vanguard's relentless assault tore through his defenses. Aboard the Ithorian ship she had infiltrated, Lieutenant Nadia Ivanova pressed her back against a corridor wall, pulse rifle at the ready. "This way," she hissed to her team, gesturing towards a heavily fortified door. As they approached, Nadia's eyes widened. "The central data core. Jackpot." Her fingers flew across the alien interface, bypassing security protocols with practiced ease. The door slid open with a pneumatic hiss, revealing a cavernous room filled with pulsing, crystalline structures. "Start the download," Nadia ordered, her voice tight with urgency. "This could change everything." On the Vanguard's bridge, a proximity alarm shrieked to life. Commander Morales' face paled as he studied the tactical display. "Captain, new contact. It's massive." Kennedy's eyes narrowed as he took in the sight of the decimator, emerging from the Ithorian fleet's formation. The behemoth dwarfed even the Vanguard, its hull dripping with weaponry. "So the Emperor had an ace up his sleeve after all," he muttered. The captain's mind raced, formulating strategies and discarding them just as quickly. A beep from the communications console caught his attention. "Sir, incoming transmission from Earth. It's General Stark." Kennedy nodded, and the grizzled face of General Ethan Stark appeared on the main view screen. "Captain, we've analyzed the decimator's schematics. There's a weakness in its aft shielding. Hit it there, and you might just stand a chance." "Understood, General. We'll make it count." Kennedy turned to his helm officer. "Evasive pattern Delta. Keep us moving, and don't let that monster get a clean shot." The Vanguard surged forward, its engines pushing to their limits as it wove through the debris-strewn battlefield. The decimator opened fire, massive energy beams slicing through space where the human ship had been moments before. Kennedy gripped his command chair, feeling the strain of every high-G maneuver. "Weapons, target the decimator's aft quadrant. Fire everything we've got on my mark." As the two titans clashed, Nadia and her team fought their way back through the Ithorian ship. The sounds of battle echoed through the corridors, the staccato of gunfire, the hiss of energy weapons, the dull thuds of hand-to-hand combat. Nadia ducked under a swinging energy blade, her own combat knife finding a gap in her attacker's armor. "Almost there," she panted, checking the portable drive containing the stolen data. "Extraction point is just ahead." The team burst into the hangar bay, laying down suppressing fire as they sprinted for their stealth shuttle. Nadia slammed her hand on the comms panel. "Vanguard, this is Shadow Fox. Mission accomplished. We have the package and are outbound." On the Vanguard's bridge, Kennedy allowed himself a grim smile at the news. "Well done, Lieutenant. Now let's make sure you have a ship to come back to." He turned his attention back to the looming threat of the decimator. "All hands, brace for impact. We're going in." Kennedy's eyes locked onto the tactical display, his mind racing through calculations and probabilities. "Now," he commanded, his voice cutting through the tension on the bridge. The Vanguard's weapons erupted in a synchronized ballet of destruction. Graviton torpedoes and plasma beams converged on a single point of the decimator's hull, just as the massive ship attempted to raise its forward shields. The timing was impeccable. A blinding flash erupted as the Vanguard's barrage tore through the decimator's defenses. Chunks of superheated metal spun away into the void, leaving a gaping wound in the Ithorian Dreadnought's flank. "Direct hit on their primary weapons array," Commander Morales reported, a hint of awe in his voice. "It's offline, sir." Kennedy didn't waste a moment. "Helm, execute maneuver Sigma 3. Get us behind that behemoth." The Vanguard's engines flared, pushing the ship into a series of intricate twists and turns that left the Ithorian gunners struggling to track their target. In moments, the human vessel had positioned itself directly behind the stricken decimator. "All weapons, concentrate fire on their engines," Kennedy ordered. "Let's clip this bird's wings." A relentless stream of fire poured from the Vanguard, hammering the decimator's unshielded aft. Explosions blossomed across the massive ship's hull as vital systems were obliterated. On the Ithorian flagship's bridge, Emperor Quasar's eyes bulged with fury. "Impossible!" he roared, banging his head against his command console. "All ships, defend the decimator! Crush that human vermin!" The space around the Vanguard suddenly filled with Ithorian fighters and cruisers, their weapons blazing. Alarms blared as impacts rocked the human ship. "Shields at 40%, Morales called out, his fingers dancing across his console. "We're taking heavy fire from multiple vectors." Kennedy gritted his teeth, feeling the weight of responsibility for his crew and his planet. "Maintain course. We need to finish off that Dreadnought." Just as the situation seemed most dire, a familiar voice crackled over the comm. "Vanguard, this is Shadow Fox. We've got a little surprise for our Ithorian friends." Deep within the Ithorian ship she had infiltrated, Lieutenant Ivanova tapped a final command into her portable device. "Uploading virus. Now!" The effect was immediate and catastrophic. Ithorian ships began to drift, their weapons falling silent and engines sputtering out. Panicked chatter filled the comm channels as the alien armada descended into chaos. "Whatever you did, Lieutenant, it worked," Kennedy said, allowing himself a small smile. "All weapons, focus everything on the decimator. This is our chance to end this." The Vanguard unleashed its full arsenal, pouring fire into the crippled Ithorian Dreadnought. Explosions chained across its hull as internal systems overloaded and reactors destabilized. But the decimator had one last card to play. Energy began to coalesce around its main cannon, building to a crescendo that threatened to obliterate the Vanguard in a single shot. "Evasive action!" Kennedy shouted, but he knew they couldn't outrun such a massive energy discharge. "Activate the transwarp drive." The experimental technology hummed to life, enveloping the Vanguard in a shimmering field of energy. For a heart-stopping moment, the ship phased out of normal space-time, becoming incorporeal just as the decimator's beam lanced through the void. As quickly as it had vanished, the Vanguard rematerialized. The crew watched in awe as the decimator's final attack passed harmlessly through the space they had occupied moments before. With a blinding flash, the Ithorian Dreadnought's reactor went critical. The massive ship disappeared in a cataclysmic explosion that sent a shockwave rippling through what remained of the alien fleet. Stunned silence fell over the Vanguard's bridge, broken only by the soft beeps and whirs of the ship's systems. Then a cheer erupted from the crew, the sound of victory washing away the tension of battle. Kennedy allowed himself a moment to bask in the triumph before turning to his communications officer. "Open a channel to Earth. Tell them Tell them we won. As the battered remnants of the Ithorian fleet turned tail and fled, the true magnitude of what had transpired began to sink in. Humanity had not only survived its first interstellar war, it had emerged victorious against a vastly superior force. But with that victory came new challenges. The existence of the Vanguard and Earth's true capabilities were now known throughout the galaxy. As celebrations erupted across the planet, the Global Defense Council convened an emergency session, grappling with the implications of their newfound notoriety. For Captain Kennedy and his crew, the future held both promise and uncertainty. They had saved Earth, but in doing so, they had irrevocably altered humanity's place in the cosmos. The celebrations across Earth were short-lived. In the Global Defense Council's secure command center, Admiral Kennedy stood before a holographic display, his face grim as he absorbed the implications of the newly decrypted Ithorian data. "This can't be right," he muttered, zooming in on a star chart that showed dozens of advanced civilizations spanning multiple galactic arms. General Stark leaned in, his eyes widening. "The Stellar Concordance? I've never heard of such an alliance." "Neither had we," Kennedy replied, his voice tight. "But according to this, the Ithorians were just the tip of the spear, and now we've angered the whole damn hornet's nest." A proximity alarm blared, cutting through the tense atmosphere. Lieutenant Commander Chen's fingers flew across her console. "Sir, we're detecting massive energy signatures at the edge of the solar system. Thousands of ships. No, tens of thousands." The holographic display shifted, revealing an armada that dwarfed anything they had faced before. At its center loomed a colossal vessel that made the Vanguard look like a toy in comparison. "The Inviolable," Kennedy breathed, reading the designation off the screen. "Their flagship." General Stark's face paled. "My God, Kennedy, what have we done?" Kennedy's mind raced, weighing options and discarding them just as quickly. The Vanguard, their ace in the hole, suddenly seemed painfully inadequate against such overwhelming force. "We can't win this fight conventionally," he said, his eyes fixed on the approaching armada. "But we might be able to buy Earth some time." He outlined his plan, a desperate, near-suicidal gambit using the Vanguard's experimental transwarp drive to strike at the heart of the Concordance fleet. The council chamber erupted into chaos. "It's madness," one official shouted. "You'll be throwing away our only advanced ship." Kennedy's voice cut through the din. "And what do you suggest? That we sit here and wait for annihilation?" Silence fell over the room. Finally, the council president nodded. "Do it, Admiral. May God be with you." Aboard the Vanguard, Kennedy addressed his crew. Their faces were a mix of grit and fear as he explained the mission. "I won't lie to you," he concluded. "This is likely a one-way trip, but Earth is counting on us. On your stations, people. We launch in 10 minutes. As the crew dispersed, Lieutenant Ivanova approached. "Sir, I've uploaded the Ithorian virus to our systems. With some modifications, it might give us an edge." Kennedy nodded. "Good work, Lieutenant. We'll need every advantage we can get." The Vanguard's engines hummed to life, propelling the ship out of Earth's orbit. As they approached the edge of the solar system, the full might of the Concordance fleet came into view. "Transwarp drive online," Commander Morales reported, his voice steady despite the stakes. Kennedy took a deep breath. "Execute microjump. Bring us in close to the Inviolable." Space twisted around them. For a moment, reality itself seemed to shudder. Then, with a lurch that sent everyone staggering, the Vanguard rematerialized mere kilometers from the Concordance flagship. "All weapons fire!" Kennedy roared. The Vanguard unleashed its full arsenal. At such close range, the effect was devastating. The Inviolable's shields flickered and failed under the onslaught. Its hull breached in multiple locations. But the respite was brief. The Concordance fleet, recovering from its initial shock, converged on the Vanguard with terrifying speed. "Evasive maneuvers," Kennedy ordered as the first salvos slammed into their shields. "Prepare for another jump." The Vanguard danced through space, its advanced systems pushed to their limits. But for every ship they disabled, 10 more took its place. Alarms blared as system after system failed under the relentless assault. Kennedy knew they were out of time. "Lieutenant Ivanova," he called, his voice firm despite the chaos around them. Take a skeleton crew and evacuate in the last escape pod. That's an order. Ivanova's eyes widened in shock. Sir, no! We can't leave you! You can, and you will, Kennedy cut her off. Earth needs to know what happened here. Now go! As Ivanova and a handful of crew members raced for the escape pod, Kennedy turned to his remaining bridge staff. It's been an honor serving with you all. Now let's give these bastards something to remember us by. His fingers flew across the console, arming the Vanguard's antimatter warheads. The ship shuddered under the continuous barrage, its hull breaching in multiple locations. Kennedy watched Ivanova's escape pod streak away from the doomed vessel. Good luck, Lieutenant, he whispered. Then with a grim smile, he pressed the detonation sequence. The Vanguard erupted in a blinding flash of light and energy. The antimatter explosion tore through the heart of the Concordance fleet, vaporizing hundreds of ships in an instant. But as the light faded and the debris cleared, the grim reality became apparent. While the Vanguard's sacrifice had bought Earth precious time, the Concordance's numbers were simply too vast. The Inviolable, though heavily damaged, still loomed at the head of the remaining fleet. Slowly, inexorably, it resumed its advance towards Earth. In the cramped confines of the escape pod, Ivanova watched through tear-filled eyes as her homeworld grew larger in the viewport. Her hand clutched a data drive containing everything they had learned about the Concordance. As Earth's last line of defense crumbled, humanity faced its darkest hour. The battle for survival had only just begun.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.